Take it.
We all thought, did they fake it or not? If you ever find yourself in this situation, slip and fall cases fall under premises liability cases. There are three major points that you have to consider when you're talking about premises liability claims. They're the second largest personal injury claims across the United States. So let's break it down. What was the role of the person that was on the premises? Were they stealing, trespasser? Were they invited, or were they a licensee? Were they on the premises to provide benefit to the shop owner or the landowner? And then we have to think about, did the landowner knew or did not know about the situation that was on the premises? If it's a known defect, that means they digged a hole last week in the middle of the ground. Did they provide sufficient notice and provide sufficient guarding around the hole in order to protect whoever comes on this premises? It doesn't make a difference what their roles are. If there was not a known defect on the premises, did the premises owner know or should have known about the situation on the premises? For example, if another customer comes and spills water in the middle of Walmart and there are no employees around and someone else walks behind that customer and falls, do they have a case? Well, it depends on how long that water sat there, depends how many employees passed by that water, depends on the color of the water and the color of the ground. All of that goes into constructive notice or notice factor that the owner should have known or realized, hey, there was a pile of water here because the employees kept passing it and it was dirt brown and it was on a white color and there was marks of people walking through it. They should have known. However, if it's clear water on a white ground, you barely see it, no marks, employee passes way farther than where the water spill is, Walmart couldn't have possibly known about it. Therefore, I don't think we can make a claim against Walmart in that situation. So it all goes back to notice. Slip and fall cases fall under a category of premises liability. Slip and fall cases could be slip and fall, trip and fall. It has many different categories, but they all fall under premises liability. If a roof of a building falls down on you, again, that's a premises liability cases. Premises liability cases involve any injury that takes place on someone else's property, land, or store. Slip and fall is when someone falls on the ground because of the situation that's on the premises. Now, when a roof of a building crashes on you, again, it is a premises liability case, but it's different. It depends on why the roof fell down on you. Did they fail to maintain it? Was it heavy loaded on top? So it goes into a bunch of different factors. If you slip and fall in a store, the owner of the premises or the tenant on the premises is liable, depending on who has control of that area, if it's a common area or if it's the area that the tenant is leasing. So if the owner of the store has created the danger by digging a hole there to install something, or by installing an equipment but not properly securing it, that is a known defect. That is a defect created by the owner. If you have a slip and fall cases, just like any other personal injury cases, you can make a claim for bodily injury, pain and suffering, emotional damage, lost wages, and many more things that fall under those categories. Usually, depending on each state, the statute of limitation is different, but 2 years most of the time. California is 2 years, Texas is 2 years, and Illinois is 2 years. Slip and fall cases, which is premises liability cases, are incredibly hard to win. They are the more complex area of law because you have to prove that there was a constructive knowledge and it wasn't open and obvious to the person that's walking. So for example, someone is walking down and they see this pile of coke on the ground and they still decide to go into it and then they slip and fall. Well, that's what they're gonna argue. How come you didn't see this? So they're incredibly hard because it's all subjective knowledge of the individual that is on the premises and the owner or the tenant's knowledge of the defect or the situation on the ground. Camera usage are incredibly interesting part of this entire thing because every time I ask a certain company for their camera footage, all of a sudden that camera no longer works or it was under maintenance. So we have our tricks of getting those camera footages, but that's what they usually claim. Oh, the camera wasn't working. But cameras are the pure evidence that you need to show that 10 employees passed by this pile of water and there's all these footprints and it's getting muddy and it's been here for 3 hours and you're just ignoring it because it's not your job to clean it. one of the tricks I always use to order the camera footage is I ask them for the entirety of the network mapping, because every time someone wants to install security cameras, they have to map it out for the store to see where they want to install all the cameras, and then they pick the equipment to address that. So we ask the equipment information, and we also ask the maintenance information, so that way I can dig into it and see how that equipment records on a usual basis. And then I also look at it as to when was it last time that it was maintained, or what would cause the camera failures, and if the other cameras that are not in that area were operating, it was just this one camera that failed. The craziest slip and fall cases was a fake one, and I dropped it, and believe it or not, that day the store camera worked perfectly. The guy sees a pile of water, grabs a shopping cart like he's in a NASCAR, revs the engine, and runs towards that pile of water. I dropped that case faster than that guy could fall down on the ground, but he went up in the air, came down, hoping to cash in. That stuff does happen. I can't deny that it doesn't happen, but that's why we do the investigation up front, to make sure that we don't represent people for frivolous cases. And the attorneys that don't do that, shame on you. If you're involved in a slip and fall, or you're injured, stay calm. Visit GoSuits.com.
Injured? Stay calm. Visit GoSuits.com.